The Caitlin Clark panic should stop. Trust that the rookie will figure it out. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more because the uproar over a couple of games where she struggled to start the season was ridiculous. For her to turn around Callie Lawson-Freeman and have a great game yesterday. Great, very good. I don't know how you want to qualify it, but she had 22 points, I believe, yesterday. Shot really well from the field. It was her best and most complete game since, she's, been playing as a Fever, and so it's like we all knew that was coming. And you know what? There might be other games where she struggles. But the point is, that's the process of being a rookie, even a transcendent rookie like Caitlin Clark. And there's like one exception maybe to the rule, and that's Candace Parker, right? Like the best of the best have struggled. And so kind of this reaction to how she's been performing and doing, it's been odd, right? Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that, Callie, is okay, like we get it. Fans are always like anxious when their player isn't performing well. And there are a lot of new fans right now, fans who are not as familiar with the WNBA. So they're a little antsy. I get that. But it's really the more preposterous things that I've been seeing. And to me, they're worth discussing because you're even seeing them from NBA players, right? So Jeff Teague was on a podcast talking about the fact that, like, the players, like, yeah, of course, they got to try to win games, but, like, let her score, let her, like, get off. And I'm paraphrasing, I'm sorry, but, like, that was his suggestion. And like, because during the conversation, the people who he was having the conversation with were like, you expect them to let her win? And he's like, nah, not that, but we got to be smart here. What you're saying is not smart. Like, these are competitors. You would never let somebody off in the NBA, right? You're gonna go at them and you don't care who they are. And in a league like the WNBA, where players are scratching and clawing to get spots on a roster, everybody is trying to show up every night. They're not trying to take nights off because Caitlin Clark needs to be efficient. Like, what is this? So it's very crazy because, yes, like this headline says, Caitlin Clark isn't overhyped. She's not. She's going to be excellent and she's going to be fine. But I think a lot of people underestimated how great the players in the WNBA are. And so rather than giving those players their respect, it's take it easy on Caitlin. It's a criticizing of the schedule. They shouldn't have had her. I believe Colin Cowherd was making this argument that they shouldn't have the schedule set up the way it is and how other leagues get this, comparing it to the NFL, not having games that would be hard, for some of the players coming into the league until later in the season. I just think it's absurd. I think it's disrespectful, Callie, to the current players. I think or the players who've already been there. I think it's incredibly disrespectful to Caitlin Clark because I don't think Caitlin Clark wants anyone to take it easy on her. And it's, in a sense, it's infantilizing her. And we don't need to do that. She doesn't need to be coddled. She will be great and she will struggle. And that's just part of the process, Callie.
Yeah, I mean, I think you noted earlier in our conversation about how we're seeing issues across the league about the way that Clark is being favored in some ways by the WNBA. And then you listen to people like Colin Cowherd, for example, and you realize that for some that's not enough. Like there should be more favoritism, some people feel. And it's a little bit stunning to see, especially because of the discourse surrounding Caitlin as she entered the league. You know, there was so much disdain against people like Diana Taurasi saying things that I thought were pretty tame coming from someone like DT. You know what I'm saying? She was like, reality is coming. You know, you might look superhuman playing against 18-year-olds, but that's not going to be the case. And she was called a hater on like the biggest scale. And we had people in the WNBA defending Diana Taurasi, which is rare because DT is not necessarily someone that you see WNBA fans coming out to defend. And so now here we are, and there's still kind of no reckoning with the fact that those things were true. You know what I mean? Like I think that there is like this weird narrative being created that people want Caitlin to fail, and even Colin Cowherd kind of implying that the WNBA somehow wants Caitlin to fail. Like that's absurd. You know what I mean? Like you look at these rookies and the vets, like Asia Wilson, for example, like she'll say super positive things about Caitlin. Even she played against Cameron Brink in our last game, said so many positive things about Cameron Brink. And that's somebody who she was going head to head with in a game previously. Like this is not a league where that type of thing is the norm, but then we're having people who are unfamiliar with the league make these aspersions and like, you know, cast all of this negativity where it doesn't need to be. Like we're seeing Aaliyah Boston, who is the reigning rookie of the year, get, you know, I saw people say she can't score 1v1. She can't rebound or defend bigs. They're saying all of this stuff. And I'm like, this is somebody who scored a WNBA high 57.8% from the field last year. Like she was the first rookie to lead the league in that category while also, you know, averaging the totals that she did in other categories: rebounds, assists, steals, block shots. Like this is a baller. And I think that people need to understand, like, there's just going to be an adjustment period. Aaliyah Boston is new. Caitlin Clark is new. The Fever are a very young team. Their coach said it herself after, I can't remember for the season opener, if it was like the second game, but she was like, just give them time, give them time. You know what I mean? Like, this is all going to take time. And I think that Caitlin Clark, which credit to her, she is consistently does a good job with this. She doesn't succumb to like a victim mentality, no matter how much people try to cast it onto her. Now she might, you know, complain a little bit on the court when she's not getting fouls called and things like that, but you put a mic in her face and she's going to take accountability. Like she said in a recent press conference, she was just like, I understand that it's going to be a transition. And I feel like I lost a sense of having fun out there. And that's what I need to get back to, is having fun and understanding that there's going to be a transition. Like she is been keeping it real, I think, from the start. And so credit to her for that. And I hope people will just let her go. Like you said, just let her grow. Like she's going to keep getting better. Even her having, you know, a WNBA record amount of turnovers in her debut, she was in good company doing that. Like if you look at the players that had a lot of turnovers in their debuts, they went on to have great careers. Like you don't mess up on this scale and like go through all these things. Like she's on a big pedestal. People are putting a lot of pressure on her. I feel like I'm ranting, but it's just like, no. Come on, like just let it play out. That's what I want to see. It's, again, we were talking about how the WBA's wins just keep having to be like qualified and things like that. And it just gets so frustrating because if you like basketball, just enjoy the game. Like there were so many things to enjoy. I talked about this the last time I was on, like in, you know, that, what was it, preseason game with Caitlin Clark and the wings, like Arike Gumbawale hitting that buzzer beater. Like those are things that you just enjoy the game. If Caitlin Clark's not playing well, I promise you there are going to be 5 other players you could probably point out on the court that are doing stuff that you can enjoy. They may not be on her team, but they're going to be putting on a show. Like just, I don't know. I hope that people who are talking about the WNBA will start to engage with it in good faith. Like this is not a league that's asking for your pity or charity views. This is a league of very talented players who are balling their behinds off every single time they get a chance. So it's like, let them do that and engage with it in that sense. You would never, like you said, ask an NBA player to take it easy on a rookie. That's just ridiculous. And it's offensive, like you said.
It is. And I'll just say this to conclude, like, what you said, no one is begging for anyone to be here. And that's the myth. That's the misconception, because y'all can argue till you're red in the face, but the numbers say the NBA, the WNBA was growing. It was already on a growth trajectory. So yes, like Caitlin Clark does help that substantially. So does Angel Reese. So does Cameron Brink. So does the fact that the Aces are forming a dynasty, or what could be. There are so many things that are driving the growth of this league, but ain't nobody begging for anyone to be here. And so, no, we will not just sit up here and say thank you. And the last thing I'm just going to say is, like, I'm glad you brought up Aaliyah Boston, and that's why, like, we had that tweet up that I tweeted, but I had to let people know, you need to remember, she is the reigning rookie of the year, and it was a historic season that you laid out so well, okay? She is a generational talent as well. They just have to take time to figure out how to work together. She was also an all-star in her first year, and that is not easy to accomplish. So watch how you talk about Aaliyah Boston, because when Aaliyah and Caitlin figure out that two-woman game, they are going to be lethal and unstoppable. But until then, extend both of them grace and stop, please, for the love of God, stop infantilizing Caitlin Clark.